Hello, and welcome to Simple Life Philosophy. I'm your host, Ed Raby. This is the channel where I document my journey from where I'm at to finding a philosophy of life that is both simple to understand and simple to execute on my way to a simpler life that is more productive. I want to encourage you all to like or share or comment on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell so you can have more content as it is released. Today is another installment of Stoic Viking meditations, and I'm currently going through the 9 Noble Virtues. I've already covered courage and discipline, and today I want to talk about fidelity. Fidelity is an idea of loyalty, of being loyal to things. The discipline of fidelity reads, I will be true to my family, friends, kindred, and to those whom I pledge my services. Now, there are 4 different groups we can obviously talk about who we're supposed to be in fidelity or loyal to, but the big thing here is, what does it mean to be true? It means that you don't work to stab them in the back, but rather to uphold them and lift them up. You're true to your family, your friends, your kindred, and to those you pledge your services. Now, in that last part, back in medieval times, that might very well have been swearing your oath of fidelity, of fealty. But the idea is that if you have given your word and to do certain things for these different groups, and the situation arises where you need to do those things, you act and do those things. You are true. To be true means that you look at that person, and regardless of where you may be in your relationship, you're still true to them because of what they are. Now, I'm going to say there's some notable exceptions. You do not have to be true to people who are not true to you. I think the understanding of fidelity from my part is fidelity is a two-way street. I can certainly be loyal to somebody as long as their loyalty has never been tested to me, that's fine. But once it has been tested, and let's say we find it a little bit wanting, then what can happen is we can say, okay, this person wasn't true to me. Do I necessarily need to be true to them? There was the desire of fidelity really is this web of relationships where everybody has each other's backs, where you have a sense of community and where you have a sense of fellowship with each other. That's the goal of fidelity. It's the whole idea of this virtue is to build our trueness, our loyalty to those that deserve our loyalty, but also to those that we pledge our services to. Now, I'm going to talk about each of these groups in detail here right now, which is we're going to be true to our families. Now, I realize, and this is why I preface this with, if somebody hasn't been true to you, then you don't owe them any trueness or loyalty to them. I realize that many people come out of abusive relationships. There are a lot of children that are abused by their parents. I personally believe that respect is not something you just give, it's something that a parent should earn. And if they have earned that respect, then yes, absolutely you should be loyal to them. If they haven't, or they have betrayed that trust and they are not true to you, there is no necessity on your part to be true to them. I think I've quoted this line before a couple of times. I'm going to quote it here again. I think it's from one of the Harry Dresden books by Jim Butcher, but Harry Dresden makes this statement: I don't care whose DNA has mingled with whose DNA. It's the people that are there for you when the going gets tough, when the fight gets hardest, they're your family. And so, to me, when we look at these definitions of family, it kind of, the idea of I'm going to be loyal to my family, I'm going to be loyal to my friends, I'm going to be loyal to my kindred, my community, my sense of, my tribe, my community. These are all different types of loyalty and how they express. And the thing about this virtue of fidelity is it doesn't really define itself as far as what you need to do with that. And I think it gets to the last one, and to those whom I pledge my services. Whenever there was a pledge of service, there were always conditions to that pledge. there were certain things that the person that made the pledge was obligated to do, and in return, this person would also do things for them. A typical oath back then would mean that say a warrior would pledge himself to his jarl, and then the jarl would also pledge himself to those that swore loyalty to him, that he would lead them, he would protect them, and they in turn offered their services in the sense that they offered their sword arm, they offered their land, things in service to the jarl in return. And it was a two-way street. And that's the thing about fidelity is I think you can measure whether it's truly needs to be a fidelity aspect in a relationship if both sides are trying to be true to each other. It really creates an interconnected web of relationships where everybody's got everybody's back. Now, yeah, there's family. I think for those of us, we don't really get the concept of family that this oath is talking, this virtue is talking about, because it would involve somewhat of a little bit of an extended family. You're loyal to your house, okay, and you're loyal to the name of that house. Now, maybe some individuals inside your family name aren't the greatest, but you also know of some that are good people. Should you not still be loyal to your house for that sake? Yes, you should. When we look at friendship, if you have a friend that's always been there, your obligation, I think, if you're going to be virtuous about it, you are obligated to be there for them. I really, it really gets odd, and I think all of us get a little bit disgusted when we see a friendship that's only one direction, where one side is always doing what for the other, and the other one's not doing much of anything. I have a friend that I don't keep score with, though, and to me, that's even a higher form of friendship. We don't care who has done who the most favors. We don't even talk about it. Okay, it's just he needs me, I'm there. I need him, he's there, and that's kind of the way a good fidelitous friendship should work. It's about loyalty to each other, not who's scratching whose back the most. And I think that's when you start to develop a true family and a true friendship. When the chips are down, who's there? That's your real family. Kindred is a little bit, there's like the idea of an extended family, but there's also the idea of community. Communities are usually very close knit. Probably through marriage, everybody's related to each other by legal means, some way or another. And so everybody is kind of you're loyal to your community. I think today we could probably say that we should be loyal to our neighborhoods. We should be loyal to the cities that we live in. Sometimes that's difficult because sometimes they're not always well run, and sometimes the city or neighborhood isn't really loyal to us. And so once again, we have that interconnected web of relationships where we're all watching each other's back. That's the issue to me. As I've meditated on this virtue many times, I keep coming back to the idea of this is about tight knit relationships that you can count on. If it's a tight knit relationship that you can count on, then your obligation on your side is to be true to that relationship. If it's not tight knit or the other side is somehow disloyal in some way, you are not an obligation anymore. The idea of fidelity is that two parties or more are working together in loyalty, not just a single individual. I have my personal responsibility as a single individual in any fidelitous relationship that I have. But if the other side is disloyal or treacherous, then I don't have to be loyal or honest anymore either. That's probably one of the differences of pagan philosophy. It's say something like a Christian philosophy that says you always have to be truthful, like St. Augustine used to say. But in pagan philosophy, it's like if somebody is deceptive towards you, you have every right to be deceptive back towards them. You have every right to trick them, use cunning, because if they're being dishonest, if they're not showing fidelity, if they're not upholding the truth, you don't have to towards them either. And that's a very interesting thing, that you can have the reaction of lying in the face of lies, okay, because the person is trying to deceive you. You are fully welcome to expose and or continue in the deception for your own means. It's a big difference, I think, in a lot of other ethics. And to those who I pledge my service, I don't know. I think there's something missing in Western society here because I see a lot of people that hop from job to job. They and maybe that's just a sign of the times or the way things are in the society, but it seems to me that if a company is being loyal to you, it should indeed cause you to be loyal to them. If you pledged your service to someone, you're obligated to keep your oath. Okay, this is where the oaths come in pagan philosophy. Oath days are very sacred, and when you make an oath, you need to keep it. Now, you can make an oath at any time, but usually there are certain days of the year where oaths become more poignant and more public. And it became obligated to keep those oaths. If you pledged your service to somebody during an oath, then you were obligated to pledge to engage in that service, whatever it might be. And it's something that I think is lost because people give their word, but they're looking for an opportunity to get out of it. Fidelity says you give your word and you're looking for an opportunity to keep your word. You're looking for a way to honor your word because that does the person that you gave your pledge to some benefit, and it benefits you by reputation. Nobody likes a person that makes promises and then doesn't keep them. There are far too many yes people in this world and not a lot of do, I will keep my word people. That's a little bit different story. And today I just kind of encourage you to think upon your relationships. Which ones have been the most loyal to you, and how can you demonstrate loyalty back? Sometimes, if you're working for a place and they've been really good to you this whole time, showing them a little loyalty in return is not necessarily out of bounds. I think if you give your word to somebody and you realize you haven't kept it, you probably should stop right now, find a way to keep it. I think this is the virtue of fidelity, is making sure your interconnected relationships, which are honorable and are about loyalty to one another, you keep your side loyal and then watch the other side. Well, I want to thank you for stopping by. This has been Simple Life Philosophy with your host, Ed Raby. This has been another installment of Stoic Viking Meditations, where we have looked at the 9 noble virtues, in particular, the virtue of fidelity. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Make sure you like, share, or comment on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell for more content as it is released. And I want to just thank you once again for stopping by, and I'm wishing you a life filled with fidelity and loyalty to one another. And you have a great day.